Welcome back to Truth Hurts, where we expose corrupt politicians and the lying corporate media. I'm Jake Duesenberg, your host, broadcasting live from Roseville, Minnesota. MAGA Jesse, what are we going to be talking about today?
Yeah, we got a lot of good stuff to be getting into today because I'm sure people have maybe seen the RINOs are on the attack against Action for Liberty again, and it just shows their desperation. They're not going after David Hand, who is paying a Democrat $30,000. Instead, they're going after the group that exposed David Hand for paying Michael Prodkorb. So we'll discuss all of the details surrounding the new attacks against Action for Liberty from the RINOs in District 7. We'll be discussing how Action for Liberty is winning. We've got Dale Zorb, who is going to be joining us on set today. He is the new elected member for the CD4 State Executive Committee role. So we'll go through all of the details that surrounded that recent convention. We'll also talk about Senate District 6. There was a debate that took place. A lot of interesting things to talk about within that debate. We'll have to see how that all shakes out. That is for the open position for Senator Justin Eichhorn. I see that we've got Razzle Dazzle, Incognito, Truth Wins and MN, and Eat Cukes already in the comments, and Tucker91. So nice to see all of you guys. If you want to make sure we hit a specific topic, leave a Rumble rant. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. I appreciate all you guys tuning in.
Run the dials as always, Mr. Deep State himself. Dawson, how you doing there, Dawson? Welcome back from the NAB show, by the way.
Yeah, thank you. It was a good trip. Everything's going fine over here. Facebook is giving us a little bit of an issue, but I'm cracking down on it. I'll make it work.
I noticed that. I was going to try to share it on my page, and I am unable in doing that. Today's show is going to be very interesting. You're going to hear things today on the show. I don't think there's any other media outlet that's willing to cover what we're going to talk about today. Some big truth bombs, some real insider information, and then if you really want the inside information, join us on our premium subscribers by going to truthhurtsnews.com and clicking on support us. This episode is brought to you by Warren Wessel of Keller Williams Realty. If you're looking to buy a home or sell a home, give my good friend Warren a call at 612-419-7453. And if you're buying a home, go to the good guys at John Galt Mortgage Company. You can go to johngaltmortgage.com, or you could check them out on Facebook or X. Fantastic meme game. And a great mortgage company. Also brought to you by Alpine Cabinetry in the great city of St. Cloud, Minnesota. Let's get right into it, Jesse. Let's see. Oh, yeah. I want to make sure people understand that the reason that people in the RINO establishment are in politics is not for the goodness of the things that you care about. It's not that they believe in less government. It's not that they believe in freedom overall, right? They're in it for one thing. This isn't some big revelation, but we forget this too often. They're in it for power. And more particularly, Republican establishment types want a monopoly of power on the center-right spectrum of politics. As soon as you understand that, the more you'll understand their moves. They're not in this for freedom. They're not in this for less government. They're in this to be a monopoly on the power structure on center-right politics. Tom Emmer would much rather get rid of Action for Liberty than he would the Democrats, because if he can get rid of the Democrats, who are they going to raise money from? Right? Mm-hmm. They need to beat up on the Democrats. And it's the greatest, dare I say, grift of all time. We need to beat the Democrats. And every 2 years, that's a message. Sometimes less because there's special elections. So every 2 years, there's a calling that works. It's we got to beat the Democrats. And therefore, you need to donate to us. Hence, Tom Emmer, by the way, setting a fundraising record of all time. He hauled in $10 million in cash. I'm sure that was all grassroots, all Minnesota, right?
No way.
By the way, speaking of supporters of Tom Emmer, we were at Wynn Casino in Vegas when we were at the NAB show, weren't we? We had a nice conversation with Dale about how Steve Wynn is a donor, or was a donor to the MNGOP, thanks to Tom Emmer. Mm-hmm. So their idea is just to have a center-right monopoly on power. The Democrats are a necessity to fundraise. Now, why is it a grift? Because they just adopt the Democrat policies, right? They talk bad about the Democrats, which would lead people like us to believe, oh, well, we must elect you, we must donate to you, because if we don't do that, We're going to get their policies. Well, in the end of the day, they beat them, but they give us their policies. It's a grift, right? But these guys want to come after us and say, we are the grifters. We're the scam artists. When we actually tell you exactly what we believe in, that we think the threat not only comes from the Democrats, it also comes from the Republican establishment, the RINOs.
Right. To grift would mean to say one thing and then do another. And that's exactly what the RINOs, Republicans, do all the time. All of the elected Republican politicians, they promise big things and then they never deliver. While Action for Liberty and The Truth Hurts is nothing but hardcore and principled. And that's why the Republican Party and the establishment doesn't like to see groups like Action for Liberty and The Truth Hurts, is because if there is someone who is willing to hold the RINOs accountable, that goes against their narrative, that goes against their monopoly on power. And, it's funny that they go after Action for Liberty like this, because who was the one who called Tom Emmer a globalist RINO? It was President Trump.
Let's pull that up there, Dawson. I want people to not forget about this, and I think this is an interesting thing. Tom Emmer, Donald Trump, when there was nothing to really gain or lose from it, you got to see what Donald Trump thought of Tom Emmer.
Mm-hmm.
Now, of course, we know that Trump ends up making good with Emmer, but that's obviously for him to be successful and
politically advantageous. I fault Donald Trump on that, but I think most people get it. You see at the very end, this is Donald Trump, when Emmer's name came up for Speaker of the House, he writes, at the very end, voting for a globalist RINO like Tom Emmer would be a tragic mistake. Don't take our word for it. The great Donald Trump calls him a globalist RINO. Right. So is CD7 Republican Party now going to condemn President Donald Trump for calling out Tom Emmer? Or is it perhaps that there's different conservatives and different Republicans with different perspectives on issues, and if they want to try to condemn people, this could go in both directions.
Right. Okay, so you have to understand the real goal of them is center-right, or power on center-right politics, okay? And then you understand why Action for Liberty is the greatest threat to them. Because Action for Liberty actually mobilizes and activates conservative grassroots folks to get involved in the political system. And they do it very effectively, okay? I ran Action for Liberty for 10 years. We have a fantastic board, fantastic strategic team. I was very honored to do this, especially when we had to go up against Tim Walz's cronyism during COVID. We're now led by former Representative Eric Mortensen, doing a fantastic job, very principled to the core, still a great board, still a great strategic team. And, well, maybe Mort's just a better president, maybe, because I would argue they've only gotten better, right? I never really thought of that. I guess that's kind of a reflection on me then, after all, right? I fell short.
No, I think it's...
Or did I just set it up very well for Mort, and then anyone could take it over? I don't know which one it is.
Right. Well,
either way, Mort's doing a good
you're right
job.
that it's because of continued leadership, but also it's because these Republicans, it's because these RINOs are going on the attack against Action for Liberty, and they don't realize that the smears make Action for Liberty stronger. If they wanted to really, go after Action for Liberty, you'd think that they would just ignore us. But instead, they just can't help themselves, because they realize that Action for Liberty is speaking for the grassroots, and that a lot of the grassroots is paying attention. They can't have that happen, so they feel the need to confront it. But the smears only make Action for Liberty stronger, and Eric Mortensen's been doing a great job by leading it.
Well, Mort put out an email this morning from Action for Liberty talking about their new hire, Hannah. By the way, that's a female. Joy Orvis doesn't understand that there are actually women in leadership positions at Action for Liberty. Just ignore that for now. So, great new hire, young gal, very talented. And that's not the only one, by the way, but I don't want to steal their thunder. So, anyhow, going after the group that threatens it. Now, why does Action for Liberty threaten their power? Because they speak truth. They expose these RINOs for what they do. You guys know that in the audience. I'm maybe giving this message for people that have never watched this show before, and maybe you were like, well, what are these people all about? I've heard some shit from these guys. What it's all about. We got a Rumble Rap. Nice.
Yeah, we got a $20 Rumble Rant from Righty. Appreciate that. It says, not a rant, but an appreciation for the last two shows I finally got to see. Always enjoy listening to Royce and Craig, and they were spot on. And Dawson, I appreciate all your April Fool's stuff. So someone appreciated the headlines and whatnot, Dawson.
Thank you
okay.
So
now so is this the $20 you owe me? You gave it to Righty? Is that what you did?
Righty is actually my alt account. I'm watching the show and typing as Righty right now.
Well, now you owe me 40, Dawson. Now you owe me $40. I'm not falling for this one, guys. So, honest to God, I think what we're learning here is that the establishment is very worried about their power. Okay, you got to understand. There's this idea that Action for Liberty and this show are the same. It's not. This is actually an independent from Action for Liberty, but I don't think we ever really disagree on things. If we do, then that's fine. We can have disagreements. So both A4L, myself, Jesse, who works very frequently with A4L, Dawson, who has nothing to do with A4L, although Dawson doesn't necessarily have much to do with politics in general. But we think in a way that I think threatens them because we come at politics from a position of there is some black and white areas, okay? There are some truths. Okay, for instance, Republicans are supposed to believe in less government. That's their view. They're the party that comes at us and says, we believe in less government, limited government, fiscal constraints, all that kind of stuff. And they do the exact opposite, and we can read it. Look, let's see, A5, Dawson. This was a piece that actually I wrote for Action for Liberty. Was this 2 weeks ago, a week ago or so? The Republicans came out with a budget proposal in Minnesota that cements in the massive spending increases of the Democrats. Scroll down where you see that chart. It's not behind them. Yeah, you see this? The Republicans, so on the left is where the 2022-23 biennium budget was, $52 billion. Then Democrats take over the state government with a trifecta, and they balloon it up to $71 billion. They blew a $20 billion budget surplus, okay? Didn't give it back to us. Then the two charts on the right are the proposed spending of both Tim Walz on the left and the GOP House on the right. You notice how the House GOP not only cements in the Democrats' level of new spending, but they also are higher than Tim Walz's projected spending. And now, Dawson, you can pull up.
This is the second largest budget in Minnesota history if passed. If the Republicans are successful and get their 666 budget across the finish line, this will be the second largest budget in Minnesota history, second only to the Democrats' big increase as shown with that $71 billion. So this is pathetic by the Republicans. They could be making major cuts, and they should be bringing it down to at least that 52.1 spending level.
Yes, because you say you think government's too big, right? O'Bannon writes, Wednesday Walter calls us a win. Okay, so they gaslight us on it. They tell us this is a win. This is the biggest spending cuts in Minnesota history. Technically, Walz would be the biggest spending cuts in history, right? Which is pathetic that you let him beat you at your own game. Well, that's assuming that's their game, by the way. Their game is not that. Remember, it's a monopoly on center-right politics. All right, so Walter Hudson, too chicken shit to come on this show and debate me. Quite frankly, debate me anywhere. I don't give a shit, Walter. You name the venue. I'll debate you. Because guess what? I know the facts on our side. We can expose this budget. Oh, we got a Rumble Rat. Go ahead and... Oh, Wheezy Mama.
Yeah, Wheezy Mama, $5 Rumble Rat says, unrelated to what you're talking about, but I want you all to know that my clinic is opening up on Monday, April 21st in Little Falls. It's libertasfamilymedicine.com, so congratulations on that. That is very cool.
My mistake. Not Nate's mom. No, definitely not Nate's mom. Younger than Nate, by the way, by a lot. So very young, nice woman who happens to be opening a family clinic up in Little Falls, Minnesota.
Pro medical freedom.
That's great. That's a new effective way to advertise on our show. Just pay for a Rumble Ramp. We should have like a certain level. Well, whatever. It's free market here. Mm-hmm. So Wednesday Walter won't debate us on our show anywhere. He won't debate us. And by the way, the guy that tweets nonstop about us says, you're not important enough. When they're passing resolutions in the GOP. But they're not that important. Even though we talk about them nonstop and pass resolutions against them, you're not important. No, you know what? The truth is, you guys don't have the right side of this issue. And dare I say, maybe you guys are the real grifters because you tell us you believe in less government and you don't show it to us at all. I want to show. So let me ask you guys this question in the comment section. Let me ask you this: does Minnesota right now have a budget surplus or budget deficit? And how much, by the way, of either one? Go ahead and just type in the comment section for those that are watching after the fact. We'll show you the comments here. on live right now in Rumble Rant. I want to hear it. Do we have a budget surplus or a budget deficit? I'm asking you that question. A lot of you guys are paying attention to the news. Do we have a budget surplus in Minnesota or a budget deficit? O'Bannon writes, deficit by $6 billion. Wheezy Mama says, you live rent-free in Walter's head. That's right. We definitely do. So we got one person. O'Bannon says we have a budget deficit by $6 billion. Someone else weigh in here. I'm just curious what you guys think of it because I want to show you guys some numbers that's very interesting on the budget debate. And quite frankly, if you believe in less government, you should not be, at this point, proposing Democrat-level spending.
And we got another one. Chaz651 says surplus of $7.6 billion.
Okay. Any other comments here? Here we go. Jason Kirch, deficit by $6 billion. Okay. So you see, we're getting different answers. Who do you guys think is right? Surplus, not enough of a surplus. It was $21 billion, Razzle Dazzle says. So we got mixed. Some are saying surplus, some are saying deficit. Okay. Well, a budget surplus, says Buddy036. Deficit, but who knows how bad it is, says Truth Wins in Minnesota. It's evenly split. Okay, so this is actually going to make my point real well because I'm seeing a lot of people that watch the show often. They are purposely lying to you. We have a budget surplus. Go ahead and pull up Dawson. This is a tweet. A6. This is the Uniparty. You want to talk about Uniparty? When I say Uniparty, I'm talking about like the politicians, the heads. Just click on that graphic here. So this is actually the government's figures. If you see February there, that says February forecast. Doesn't mean like the calendar year February. It just means that's the February forecast of these budgets. Fiscal year 2024-25, that budget is almost done. That'll end on June 30th. The debate right now in Minnesota is that center column, okay? Do you see how that center column starts? Starts with a $7.3 billion budget surplus. You got that? There is a surplus right now. Now, you're not hearing that, and here's why you're not hearing that. Because what they're wanting you to concentrate, and when I say they are, I'm talking about Democrats and Republicans, on 4 years from now, at the end of the fiscal year 2029, if spending continues going up at heightened levels that the Democrats put into power, and they continue keeping this $3.177 billion in a rainy day fund that they'll never use, and it's out of your hands, then we'll have a $6 billion budget deficit. We do not have a budget deficit right now. We actually have a surplus they could give back to you right now. And what is that? That's like probably $3,000 back in your pocket that the government could hand back to you. But guess what? The Republicans and the Democrats want to spend that surplus money on their bloated government. Now, it just so happens that these numbers match what the Republicans are proposing. But let's go back to that article real quick. And I want to make this point because I think we're going to have a lot of new people watching the show. And I think you have to understand that, you know, the accusation is we just do what we do to enrich ourselves or to maybe get our own power. Whatever their accusation is, it's all about us. It's not about us. It's about literally right or wrong. And I am willing to debate any of them. I told Wednesday Walter, I go, Walter, why don't you come debate me on the show? He's like, I don't want 3 people on one. That's not fair. And I go, it'll just be me. We won't have Jesse on here. It's just be me. And you can invite any of your legislative friends. And then he writes back, well, you're unimportant. And, he goes, maybe we'll debate on my time at the end of summer.
Yeah.
At the end of summer.
He said, we'll do it when I'm good and well.
Yeah,
Right.
when I'm good and well.
It's ridiculous.
He's such a con. He's such a con artist. Okay, scroll down here, and I want to show you the Republican budget proposal here. Because this is the story that everyone has to understand. That's Walz's. Keep going down. Keep going down right there. Okay. So, no, that's the conservative budget. Did I put it on here? Keep going down. Oh, I didn't put that on here. Shoot. You know what? It's in a tweet, Dawson. Hold fast real quick. I'll find it in just a second.
Is it on your profile?
On my profile. What do you mean on my profile?
Is it on your Twitter profile?
I don't think it's on my. I tweeted it out. It's not on my Democrat.
Is it this one?
Well, look at this guy.
I'm a pro. Look at me.
He's on top of things. Wow.
Thank you.
Fantastic, Dawson. Okay. Did I have pinned? Is that what it?
No, I just look for it.
I'm very impressed, Dawson.
Thank you.
You're making up for last week.
Well, see, so it's money, so it's really easy
It's
for
the
me
Jew,
to
yeah.
grasp. Yeah.
Leave the Jew to figure out the money side. God, what was that thing at the NAB show that was so oh, yeah.
Yeah, the guy was like, "Oh, talk to our sales rep," and he pointed in a direction, and there was a guy.
No, we
Jewish
want to
dude.
talk money. And he goes, no, you got to talk to our guy. He's the one wearing the yarmulke. And I look at Dawson like, oh, of course.
Yeah, I was like, "Don't say it, don't say it, don't say it."
All right, you see, the Republican budget, technically it's their agreement budget with the Democrat House, which is ridiculous. They want to spend $66.639 billion. You see how much we have in revenues? It's less than that. So they're overspending by $2.1 billion. So to pay for the Republicans' second largest budget ever, they're going to rob your surplus. Okay, so you guys see this.
Right,
These are
it's
numbers.
ridiculous.
These aren't refutable.
Right.
Or if they're refutable, they're too chicken shit to come onto our show or, quite frankly, debate me anywhere on the numbers.
Right. The Republicans are so pathetic that they're eating into the surplus money. You'd think that they would even be smart enough to at least look somewhat conservative by having a budget that is going to be less than the revenue that you're bringing in. They don't even go about it that way. They admit that they want to take away surplus money. It's ridiculous. This is supposed to be a conservative budget. What's the point of electing Republicans if they're just going to have the second largest spending budget in Minnesota history?
And I think I got this. Dawson, just pull up my Twitter account. Now watch this. Okay, once again, I want to bring this up to you guys because I think it's important for you guys to understand. When we're critical of Republicans, we're critical of their policy that they're proposing, which is definitely not conservative. Okay? What's the point in being in politics if it's just to beat up the Democrats? That doesn't make sense. It's about the Democrats' policies in the end. And if the Republicans embrace the same policies, then they're also our enemy. Scroll down here. You see that they want a team right. Okay, right here. I just posted this. Now click on that image. This is the Republican talking point. This is Minnesota House Republicans. Democrat policy has devastated our school districts as mass layoffs and budget cuts impact employment, teacher pay, and student resources. Meanwhile, Democrats are still pushing to fund health care and college for illegal immigrants. Read the full story. If you get rid of that last sentence, by the way, if you get rid of that, does that not read exactly like a Democrat talking point? It's
Yep.
exactly a Democrat talking point. Let me just change the two parties here. Tell me if this sounds familiar. Republican policy has devastated our school districts as mass layoffs and budget cuts impact employment, teacher pay, and student resources. They are literally embracing the Democrat talking points. They are not proposing less government. In fact, they're accusing the Democrats of proposing less government. You can't make this up. So our point on this show at Action for Liberty, and anyone that actually wants to go out and tell the truth, is it doesn't matter what letter you got behind your name. It's about the policy in the end, right? Mm-hmm. And so I try to shy away from name calling, but sometimes name calling is important because these guys are liars. Mm-hmm. They're fraudsters. They're the con artist, right? I don't know how else to say when you go and campaign as you're for limited government, right? And against wasteful spending, and do the exact opposite. And don't let me get started in Washington, D.C. The the Senate Republicans in Washington, D.C., as they're going into this budget reconciliation process, the Trump budget, they say, they literally can't find more than, $4 billion to cut out of the federal budget? It's a joke. They're going to, and by the way, I think that's just a cut to government or cut to growth. So these guys are fraudsters. Now let's get back to the attacks on people like us, Action for Liberty. Where's this coming from, Jesse? Well, we know, right? The center of influence on Minnesota Republican politics, no shocker to anyone, because he just happens to be the third most powerful congressman. It's Tom Emmer, or Thomas Earl Emmer Jr., right? That's his real name? Okay, so Tom Emmer is behind these recent attacks. Let's see. Let's count this off now. 3 weeks ago, Bobby Benson, a paid staffer for Tom Emmer, pushed for a resolution by the Minnesota GOP to actually condemn Action for Liberty as an organization and made ridiculous, fictitious claims against them. Not true at all. Okay, that's 3 weeks ago. That's the first strike. Number two, what they do is they have their secretary make accusations against Eric Mortensen, completely baseless accusations, refuted by people that were actually in attendance. 3, they disenfranchised Otter Tail County delegates. 4, and we're going to get into this a little bit, CD4 literally uses that resolution to trash and find one of our guys, Dale Zorb, who's going to join us on the show, who's running for state executive of the MNGOP, and won, but they tried to stop him. And what they used was that resolution by the party and basically went on a trashing spree of Action for Liberty. We got a rumble rap.
Looks like the Libertarian Party of Minnesota is saying, we all know who the real party of limited government is. So that's funny. Yeah, no, I mean, it's interesting that the Republican Party is refusing to, well, not all of Republicans, but certainly a lot of the leaders of the Republican Party are pushing away liberty lovers. And that doesn't do anything to help the Republican Party. If the Republican Party wants to be a Big Ten party that, which is how President Trump won, President Trump won by bringing in libertarian thinkers, and so the Republican Party needs to realize that if you try to push people out, you're going to lose.
Yeah. By the way, isn't it fun to see the Libertarian Party try to like cater to us and like
try to win us over?
Respect where it's due.
Right.
You know, you got like they're reading the room. They're like, the Republican Party's trashing them. We would take them. By the way, you know, isn't that the interesting thing? Let's just play this out for a second. Obviously, Action for Liberty has a lot of influence, right? Otherwise, you guys wouldn't be talking about us nonstop. Would you prefer we just go join the Libertarian Party and take all of our time and influence over there? No, you don't want that. Nope. Mm-hmm. You don't want to lose elections, do you? They don't want that one.
All
what
they
want us to do is sit down and shut the hell up and let them continue on their grift.
Right. They just want us to fall in line with the RINOs. And, you know, there's too many grassroots patriots that outnumber them now. And they're seeing that happening at all of these different congressional district conventions around the state.
Yes. Okay. Most recent one last night, Congressional District 7, which just had a great election 2 weeks ago. Actually, apparently last week, they tried passing another resolution, like the party, condemning Action for Liberty. It failed by a vote. Last night they had an emergency meeting to do it all over again, and it passed. So they're condemning Action for Liberty, which, by the way, is so pathetic. Ooh, you guys wrote a strongly worded letter condemning Action for Liberty. By the way, it's backfiring on them. Doesn't look good. You can't talk about being the party of unity and then pushing Action for Liberty away. By the way, the truth tellers, come on, if we're just grifting, we're just lying, debate us. Let's talk about the Minnesota budget. Talk about how that's winning. Tell us how that's a conservative view. Oh, wait, you don't have time for us. Okay, that's not going to happen. Now, let's talk about Bobby Benson, because this is really the Emmerites, the people that are aligned with Tom Emmer. Pull up the A3. Who is Bobby Benson? Jesse.
Yeah, well, obviously he's a staffer for Tom Emmer. He's listed on there as the state chief of staff. He's getting $130,000 a year. That's what it's listed as for the 2024 total. Same thing for 2023. So he's getting $130,000 a year. He's also supposed to be the District 6 GOP chair, which is supposed to act in a neutral way so that they can run conventions and endorsements. But it's a lot harder to be neutral when you're being paid $130,000 by one of the people that is seeking that endorsement. So it's no surprise that Bobby Benson hasn't allowed competition against Tom Emmer at previous endorsing conventions, and it's no surprise that Bobby Benson and his crew of minions aren't allowing competition against Bobby Benson himself. When Jody Welsh tried to run against Bobby Benson, they wouldn't allow her to speak, just like they wouldn't allow Chris Corey to speak against Tom Emmer. So this is the Republican Party in District 6 right here. They are pro-communism, pro-censorship, and anti-competition. They do not, they would much rather look like communist China than looking like the United States of America. They do not want to allow competition. They do not want grassroots conservatives to be able to take power and leadership roles within District 6.
Yeah, so it's very important to understand that the top staffer, I guess he's got a chief of staff in Washington, D.C., so the top staffer in Minnesota for Tom Emmer paid $130,000 of your tax money. Okay, that's coming from us. It's not like donors to Tom Emmer. It's literally our tax money. Pays for this guy, and then he's actually running the party apparatus in that whole congressional district. If that's not a big conflict of interest, as we reported a week ago, he also did not allow competition. The CD6 board, or it was a board or nominations committee, found the one person challenging him to be unqualified. They wouldn't even let her speak at the convention. So it's like a rigged game. You imagine like running for a position and your opponent can't even campaign?
Yep.
And by the way, just another little side note, and I would imagine it was the same with, what's her name, who ran in CD6?
Jody Welsh.
Jody Welsh. I assume she didn't get the delegate list, right?
I don't know about that.
Well, they definitely did that to Dale Zorb, wouldn't give him a delegate list.
And they did the same thing to Chris Corey when he had run for Congress. They refused to allow it. And I see one question in the comments here from Dreamkick says, what's the website on the salaries? And Dawson, if we want to pull up that A3 one more time, that is called legistorm.com. You can find all kinds of information about who is getting paid by congressmen and whatnot. So that is a pretty useful website, Legistorm, legistorm.com.
I just posted it in the show notes here so you guys can see it. Yeah, it's public record. Obviously, it's salaried positions of a congressional staff member, so no problem. Well, joining us on our set, the proprietor of this great Cherry Tree Studios and new CD4 rep on the MNGOP State Executive Committee, Dale Zorb. How you doing there, Dale?
All right. All right. Glad to be here.
Well, you know, Dale, we haven't really got into the whole shenanigans against you, but you're a board member at Action for Liberty, and it was very clear to me that it was a hit job against you, essentially, because your affiliation with Action for Liberty, they didn't want you to be on the MNGOP State Executive Board. Is that a fair characterization of what happened?
That's very accurate. Correct.
So, State Executive Board, for people that don't understand, it's like the board of directors for the party. It's like the 15 most inner working people. Jeez. That wasn't a threatening thing toward you. I'm not about to put. I know you said put on the Spartan helmet, but I'm not going to do that today, Dale. It's the 15 like closest executives, board members, whatever you want to call the GOP, like the most inner core of the actual MNGOP. So a position that the establishment doesn't want grassroots folks to have. You decided to run for this a couple weeks ago. You announced that you're going to do it. You actually talked to the nominations committee, and they won't provide a delegate list to you. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah, that's correct. For some reason, they want to keep everything under control, under their thumb. It's something we need to change.
Right. I mean, we should be for competition, right? Because you and I are Republicans.
Competition. We're absolutely Republicans. Yes.
You and I have been Republicans for a long time.
We want the best for the Republican Party.
Right.
Yeah, we want the best for Minnesota.
That's right. Like, we should want a large, strong, thriving Republican Party because the Democrats offer no hope at all.
No.
It's just sad that this uniparty mentality that's corrupted the Republican Party kind of kills the conservative movement. We don't need that to happen. We can have a strong, thriving Republican Party. It just has to be around the conservative views. Otherwise, what's the point in politics? I see we got a rumble.
Yeah, we got a $5 rumble rant from Brad Ganser. He says, congratulations, Dale. I saw some others in the comments section congratulating you as well, Dale. So this is a big victory for the grassroots. And yeah, there's definitely lots of people here that are excited to see that you got elected there.
All right. Well, thanks for Brad Ganser for that. And yes, the grassroots is the future of the party. So I'm definitely a Trump Republican. I've always got him with me right here.
I will be the greatest president that God ever created.
I don't ever want to stray too far from Trump. So
maybe on the budget.
Yeah, on the budget. So I mean, and Trump is definitely the grassroots politician. So I mean, that is the party. He has brought the working man into the Republican Party.
Yes.
So we have to thank him for that.
Very much so.
So why can't we duplicate what he's doing nationally here in Minnesota? Why can't we get a Doge going in Minnesota and stop this senseless spending, this out of control spending by both parties?
Right.
It's just unbelievable that we could run budgets up to $66-70 billion, and I'm sure we can get by with much less than that.
Well, of course we can get by with less than that. And that's the problem. And you missed the beginning of the show, but it's like, this is who we are. We are sick and tired of the Republicans telling us one thing and not doing it.
Yeah.
They're not even proposing less government.
No. You know, all I ever ask from the politicians that I want to talk to is tell me what you're going to do, and then actually do what you said.
Right.
So say what you'll do, and then do what you say. I think that's a good motto.
It should just be how everyone conducts
Right.
themselves. But they want to lie because if they came to you and said, well, I just really want power on Republican politics, that's it. I just want to root out the grassroots. Then you'd be like, well, you're not getting money from me. And then
Right.
no one would want to donate to them except for like some of the really bad characters, right? George Soros would go, I'll donate to that. They don't want conservatism. All right, Dale. So at your convention, which you won last Saturday, so congratulations.
Thank you.
You had 3 opponents, one which was announced basically Thursday before the convention. His name is John. We call him Big Pharma John K. How do you pronounce his last name? You're like the
I
only
think
guy that
it's
can pronounce
Kishelishin.
Kishelishin.
Yeah,
Kishelishin.
Right.
It's got too many consonants. It doesn't sound right. Okay, so John K, Big Pharma John K, is basically the anti-Action for Liberty attack dog going after you. Just before we get into what he did at the convention, let's talk about who this guy is. I mean, we don't just call him Big Pharma John for no reason. This guy literally is a pharmaceutical rep. He's a lobbyist. Do we have that on the? Did you put that in the article?
It is in the article. Yeah, if we want to pull up that article, Dawson, I can
Was it
direct
B1?
you to where we can prove that Big Pharma John is exactly what we claim he is. So go ahead and scroll down, Dawson.
Oh, by the way, in case people don't know, Dale's the guy behind the infamous Rhino jackets. So it says conservative voter, and then it's got a knife stuck in the back that says Rhino.
Right, like most of the grassroots, we feel backstabbed by the RINOs. So go ahead and scroll down, Dawson, until you see that picture of Dale, and it's within the paragraph right underneath that. So,
By the way, that's Dale holding up a $1 trillion Zimbabwe dollar.
Yeah.
He actually, you did donate to the HRCC.
I did. I
technically.
sent them that. They were so short on budget, and they're spending endless money that this is what the country's going to turn into if we keep running inflation up. That you can have $1 trillion bills. So I sent them $1 trillion.
Nice.
Help straighten out their budget.
Yep. All right, so go ahead and scroll down just a little bit there, Dawson. Go ahead and click Big Pharma Lobbyist right there. So that pulls it right up to the campaign finance board where people can see what all kinds of people are paying John to
see where
lobby
it says,
for them.
Yeah, you see where it says Purdue Pharma LP? It's probably like 6 down or so. Yeah, there you go. Click on that. He literally is a pharmaceutical rep. Just click on where it says his name, John. Yeah, I mean, can anyone pronounce that name? Kizlinski? Oh, where does it show reports? I don't know. Anyhow, what he did was he was a rep for opioids, basically, like pain pills.
Yeah, the reports are on that second tab right there, Dawson.
Oh, what? Yeah, there you go. Well, whatever. You could see it right there. Purdue, which isn't Purdue the one that got sued by like billions of dollars for pushing opioids? I'm getting this right. Purdue. Yeah. Purdue's like the big one. The Purdue family. Big Pharma John is the guy they used to attack him. So basically, what was he saying about you? What was he saying about Action for Liberty at the convention?
Well, anything he could come up with that was bad. I don't know where he came from. I've never met the man before. I don't have a relationship with him. But yeah, he came out with guns blazing.
Yeah. Yeah, he actually brought up some of my articles. he was reading off some of these articles of mine and saying Walter Hudson defends budget. That's not true. That's a lie. It's like, well, it's exactly true. He said that I misrepresented Karen Housley. The fact that she wants to push a debt bill, a bonding bill. So of course I wasn't.
She's on the bonding bill committee. Of course she does.
Yeah.
Why would anyone ignore that? Like, that's a statement of fact.
Right.
Yeah,
and
that's
he
how they
actually
play.
tried to blame Action for Liberty for the loss in Senate District 41, where Judy Seeberger became a senator, when in reality, that's because a Rhino endorsed, Rhino Tony Jurgens endorsed the Democrats. So John was trying to convince people that somehow that was Action for Liberty's fault by giving people a very minimal information and not actually describing what he's talking about. So a lot of people were able to see that he was just angry and smearing Action for Liberty. He didn't come off looking good. I think a lot of people thought, who is this guy? I don't know what he's talking about. And no wonder he got last place when the votes were actually taking place. So he only was able to get 12 votes on that first round. Dale was able to get 31. Sue Erickson got 17, and Jim Carson got 13. What happened right after then? John and Jim dropped out of the race and endorsed Sue. They were both desperately begging everybody, please vote for Sue. Please
Don't let Action for Liberty win. Don't let
Dale win. But
Yep.
the delegates were on the floor, and we were chatting it up with all kinds of people, and making the case. And Dale did a great job during the Q&A, especially compared to someone as angry as John, because John was just coming off very distasteful. And meanwhile, Dale is calm, and he's just answering all the questions straight up. And Dale brought up some great points that. Instead of blaming Action for Liberty, why are we not looking at David Hann, who was just paying Michael Broadcorp $30,000?
Which wouldn't have came out unless Action for Liberty got that article.
Right, and that there is a problem with the RINOs. And I think that a lot of the grassroots delegates that were at the CD4 convention also recognize that there is a problem with these RINO legislators and them not actually living up to their claims and what they promised when they campaign. So. Despite the first round having to go to a second round, Dale was able to pull it out, and he got the majority of the votes on that second round. So obviously the smears and whatnot do nothing to help the RINO side. I think if anything, it helped make the case for Dale even better. And Dale had also promised that he's going to be a transparent member of the state executive committee by saying, I'm going to email all of the delegates and let you know what takes place at each meeting. So it wasn't just, the pro-grassroots RINO element that was going on as well. It was also that people were seeing that, hey, this Dale is actually promising that he's going to let us in the loop. He's going to let us have an influence on this committee. And that's what a lot of the grassroots want. They just want to make sure that their voice is properly represented.
Yeah, and you ran on like a unifying message, too, because what I think was interesting, and this is true, and it doesn't get talked about a lot, Trump actually had a coalition building strategy. Like, he went to the RFK people, he went to the Libertarian Party, he went to Tulsi Gabbard's faction, ends up getting Joe Rogan on board, right? He gets these great strategic partners based off common ideas to win, and the Republican Party needs to understand that, because they haven't won statewide in 19 years, so they are literally losers by definition. And you want to make them winners by building these coalitions. So that's your message. Well, then we find out last night, Congressional District 7, and I know you don't represent 7, you obviously represent 4, just double down on the same divisiveness, condemning Action for Liberty. When literally one of the board members of Action for Liberty, one of the longest members of Action for Liberty, is on the state executive committee. How do you feel about that? And where do we go from here?
Well, we've certainly got work to do. I said we're going to try to mend fences, and I think we should do that with the Republican Party, and they should mend fences with us. I think attacking us is just the wrong way to go. The grassroots is growing, and as you mentioned, and as I mentioned, building coalitions with other groups is important. The more we can emulate what Trump has done nationally, the more we are going to win in Minnesota. And Minnesota Republican voters are going to take notice of that. And, we've got quite a hill to climb here. But it can happen. It can happen, and I am going to do that. I'm going to be transparent. I'm going to be that person that will say what I'll do and then do what I say. And for all of you that live in CD4, I work for you now. And that's what I'm going to do on the state executive committee.
Mm-hmm. Oh, good. Well, that's, I think, at the least what we could expect is someone that's transparent, because after finding out the Republican Party of Minnesota was paying for a Kamala Harris social media influencer and wouldn't even let their delegates know about it, transparency is a major issue at the party. And I don't know how people on the state executive committee didn't know about it. I would allege that people like Bobby Benson, who was on that special finance committee, was very well aware of that. Mm-hmm. And maybe perhaps behind it, By the way, it's not lost on me that this guy, there's been 2 condemnation letters against Action for Liberty and not a single one on condemning David Hann or condemning Michael Broadcorp. Isn't that fascinating?
Well, we'll see how things work out at CD2, because it sounds like CD2 may finally condemn David Hann. So it's like I had said earlier, this can go in both directions. If you want to try to condemn the grassroots side of things, well, when the grassroots have the votes, they can condemn the RINOs as well. So if the Republican Party wants to play that game, they better realize the mess that they're in for. if they really want unity, then they're going to have to allow Action for Liberty and the supporters of A4L to be under that umbrella.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to bring you on the show because I want to show people that there is victory here, and despite all these efforts, they're losing.
Yes, well, there is, but the unity is what we need to do. We need to come together. So that's how we're going to win. So that's what I'm going to work for, and I'm going to work hard at it.
Yeah.
And I'm going to look deep into the finances of what the state does here. That'll be one of the tasks I'm going to focus on here. So, how 9 other states in this country can have no income tax, and we are out of control taxing Minnesotans to death.
Well, and that's the thing is,
as I said when I gave a speech, I said, what are Minnesota's largest exports? Well, they're
wealthy people. It's
the retirees. Retirees can't wait to get out of Minnesota, right? I said our biggest exports are millionaires, billionaires, Fortune 500 companies, and conservatives. Now, that's not how we want to grow Minnesota.
Right.
That's just a spiral. It's a downhill spiral.
Well, and that's the thing is so unity is a great message. When the establishment see, I know what you mean by it, but when the establishment says unity, they don't mean it. They just want us to shut up, sit down, and listen. When we say it, we're talking about, yes, there are principles like liberty, like less government, like getting rid of the income tax that we should unify on. And unfortunate, and this is why we have a show like this, it's called The Truth Hurts for a reason, is they're so far away from that. And I call them the Uniparty because the Uniparty, the politicians at the Capitol, aren't even coming close to proposing it. Here's an interesting one for you, Dale, and for you guys at home. So if the Republicans, Dustin, do we still have this budget? Yeah, go back to the article. I've got something called the conservative budget in there. I want to show you guys the numbers here. This is really interesting, okay? All right, scroll down. You'll see right below that, right there. This would be if the Republicans actually believed that the Democrats' massive spending in the last 2 years was a problem, then logic would say they would want to go to the spending that existed before that, right, which is $52 billion. If they did that, that would free up $19.3 billion of surplus that would go back to you. Now, there are many ways to handle that, Dale. You could just cut checks for $7,720 per taxpayer. You know what else you could do at that amount? You could literally do a 1-year income tax holiday. That's how big of a budget that is. We take in, I think it's roughly $16 billion a year in income tax in Minnesota. There could be a 1-year tax holiday. Now, here's the question, and I remember Eric Mortensen had that when he was the legislator of Bill. Imagine how popular that would be with the people. And I would imagine that some people would go, you know what? I kind of want to keep this thing going. I kind of didn't like paying income taxes before, and that was really good. Maybe we shouldn't ever pay them again. Wouldn't that be an interesting one? We got a Rumble rant here.
Yeah, Carol Hexum, $5 Rumble rant. I appreciate that. She says, unity will only be accomplished when it's based on truth and transparency. We will not be silenced or complacent with principles. That's a great point because it's all about what that unity is behind.
Yeah, what do you think about that, Dale? Carol's a good patriot.
I think Carol's right on.
Mm-hmm.
Man of very little words.
Yep.
Well, I just want to,
and also CD4 was possible thanks to the people who showed up, and also I do want to give credit to Senator Roger Chamberlain, who was the chair. He did a fair job, and same thing with the parliamentarian Andrew Matthews. Despite the nominations committee trying to say that Dale was qualified with reservations and that the RINOs were nothing but qualified, it shows that there's still a little bit of a problem in CD4. But the fact that the convention was run fairly and that they allowed for, the parliamentarian and whatnot to, run things fairly and not ramrod things down our throats, it was appreciated by the delegates. And I think that that's how all of these congressional districts should be modeling themselves after.
Dawson, pull up A7. I know because Dale loves looking at pie charts, budget pie charts. And for you guys at home, just to show you the numbers here. So remember, if Republicans actually embraced a conservative budget, then they would have $19 billion of surplus they could give back. Scroll, get rid of my window here so I can look at it. This is what it shows per year. Sorry, actually, this is per biennium. So per biennium, what's brought in. You see how it says individual income tax, $30.5 billion. So divide that by 2 because that's for 2 years. So it's like almost $15.5 billion. That's it in income tax. So we could not only get rid of the income tax for a whole year, we could even get rid of the corporate tax. Look at that. There's $6.3 billion collected in corporate tax for 2 years. So we could get rid of the corporate tax and the individual income tax for a whole year if we just gave back the surplus. Now, listen, my proposal is, and that would probably be my favorite, just getting rid of the individual income tax. But quite frankly, the point is it's got to go back to the people. And the Republicans could unify on that. That is, the conservative budget is the unifying thing. Mm-hmm. You want to unify? Unify under what you say you're going to do. Less government. That's less government. If you think the Democrats' budget increase to $70 billion was a problem, don't cement that in. Go back to before what it was. Mm-hmm. And then you free up that money. That seems to be the big... By the way, I would imagine there wouldn't be a bigger thing that Republicans could do that would get more people into the party, because they'd be like, I actually really enjoy having $7,000 back in my family's pocket.
Mm-hmm. Who couldn't use that?
Well, I could think of a lot of guns I would buy, Dale. You know, now Dawson, you too, right after shooting Vegas. Yeah, unfortunately, can't buy that Rambo gun you shot. That one's not legal for you.
That one was very, very cool.
That was good. Well, thanks so much for joining us, Dale.
Right.
I know you're a busy guy, so appreciate it. Let's go to the last segment here on the Senate District 6 special election. Yep. This is brought to you by Warren Wessel of Keller Williams Realty. If you're looking to buy a home or sell a home, give my good friend Warren a call. And I'm not just saying good friend because I'm reading some script. I've known Warren for over a decade. He's my realtor. He sings in my church's choir. Can I say enough good things about Warren? He's a damn good realtor. That's really all that matters, but it doesn't hurt that he's also conservative. Also brought to you by John Galt Mortgage Company. You can go to johngaltmortgage.com. Let's talk about Senate District 6 here.
Yeah, Dawson, let's go ahead and pull up the C1 so that people can see the article for themselves. Conservative Doug Kern fights for Never Again bill in Senate debate. So we can go through this article here. Following the arrest and federal charges brought against incumbent Senator Justin Eichhorn for attempted prostitution of a minor, the seat was vacated and a special election was filed. On Tuesday, a hotly contested debate was held by the Brainerd Lakes Chamber of Commerce and the League of Women Voters among the GOP competitors. Senate District 6 spans across Cass, Crow Wing, and Itasca counties. Action for Liberty has previously reported on the race and the candidates. The primary date is Tuesday, April 15th, and the full debate can be viewed at that link. During last night's debate, 7 GOP candidates participated, while former failed MN-GOP chair Jennifer Carnahan claimed she was sick and could not attend. Instead of speaking with voters directly, Carnahan will instead be known for her attempt to purge A4L grassroots supporters from the MN-GOP, her recorded phone call laughing about her then-husband's eventual death, and her connection to convicted child sex trafficker Anton Lazaro, and her refusal to sign the Never Again pledge. Of the 7 candidates in attendance, only one candidate has signed Action for Liberty's Never Again pledge to prove that he will support the strongest piece of legislation to prevent walls or any future governor from locking down our state again with abuse of emergency powers. All of the candidates have refused to stand with the conservative grassroots that A4L has become the voice for during COVID tyranny. Doug Kern has even made a video explaining why he signed the pledge and why he cares so deeply about this video. See Kern's pledge and participation in A4L protest below. So go ahead and scroll down. People can see that he has signed the Never Again pledge. There's the pledge. And you'll also recognize a couple of faces down below. Go ahead and scroll down. You'll see him fighting the lockdown protest. So there he is with Jake and Mortensen. So Doug Kern has been around, and he is definitely a believer when it comes to medical freedom and stood against COVID tyranny.
You know, I remember when he ran against Heinzman and they were accusing him, Doug Kern being backed by A4L or being backed by me. And I was like, I don't know if I know who he is. And that was the first time I met Doug. Although I've had conversations with him. Nice guy. Very nice guy.
Yeah.
And I believe him to be conservative. But I think that was the first time we actually ever met. And so you wanted a picture. And then so because I was in a picture... Of course.
Yup.
Of course, he's got to be Jake's candidate.
Yup, exactly. And, he gets smeared by the RINOs trying to call him a Democrat. He's, arguably the most conservative in the race. So O'Bannon says $5 Rumble and see if you can get Kern to sign a pledge to wear the to never wear that hat
What is
again.
that hat?
Well, I don't
Zoom
know.
in. No, hold on. Zoom in. What's the hat?
Yeah, I don't know what exactly it's called. It's like a flat.
Looks like a newsy hat that's been worn to hell.
Yeah, he's got another one on in the top picture
Tail was
as
just
well.
wearing a newsy hat. Do we have
Yeah.
a problem with the newsy hat now?
Well,
Yeah, it's the same
That
style.
hat?
that's a nice new
That's
one.
a classy hat.
Yeah, I don't think it's bad
Oh man, who said that?
either. That was O'Bannon.
O'Bannon. Oh,
Yeah.
well, Bannon. I don't know. Bannon's good people.
Yep. And how about that? Terry Time says Doug Kern is the cousin of my Patriot friend Brenda. Well, that is nice
Well, there you go.
nice to hear. But so every other candidate besides Doug Kern has flatly refused to sign the pledge and prove to voters that they will fight for freedom. One candidate, veterinarian John Howe, used his wife to convey the message to A. Farrell that he doesn't have time to read the bill. However, during the debate that took place, John Howe brought up 2 other pieces of legislation that he supports. It sounds like he has time to read other bills, but not a bill on the most critical fight against big government in our lifetime. While John Howe gave good answers on mining and shrinking government, refusing to sign the Never Again pledge is not a good sign that he would be a fighter. Doug Kern bragged up the Never Again bill during the debate and said that he will work with anybody to do good. Doug said, quote, "People always said, well, it's action for liberty. No, it's action for you," end quote. And that he talked with people across the aisle to get it passed. Immediately following Doug's strong answer, candidate Angel Zierden sneered and instead suggested that building trust with Democrats and pushing bipartisan solutions. Does she not realize the Democrats are destroying our state and weak rhinos helping them are the problem? And I want to actually play this section of the debate, Dawson. So if we could pull up the C2, and we'll be looking at the time 1:03:10. So an hour and 3 minutes into this. Doug Kern is pushing the Never Again bill. He does a strong job doing that. He also brought it up earlier on in the debate. But this is the section right after where Angel Zierden makes it 100% clear that she is just another scam Republican because she's a big-time Democrat, and we'll get into that in a second.
Say that one more time. Given the near even split between Democrats and Republicans in the state legislature, how would you work across party lines to pass meaningful legislation? And you'll have 1 minute.
I would say the first thing is this Never Again bill. That was a good example of partisanship where people, you had the left and the right, and then you had some of the right that went left. When you're looking at partisanship, I'm willing to work with anybody on anything, anytime, anywhere. When you look at the Never Again bill, that's something that I always looked at the content. People always say, well, it's action for liberty. No, it's action for you. When you look at the content of the bill, is designed to where Governor Walz or any other governor cannot destroy your businesses, destroy your way of life. We're still recovering from the time frames. When you look at the time frames of our kids being out of school doing e-learning, I mean, we lost birthdays, we lost Christmas, we lost holidays, we lost everything. If people would have worked together at the Capitol, they could have done something about that. They could have actually got that Never Again bill through. I believe they could. Part of it is just talking across the aisle. You have to talk, you don't talk.
All right. Angel Zierden, same question.
Yeah, I think it's more than talking. It's trust that you care about their concerns as well as if they're valid or not. It doesn't matter. Bipartisanship is something I talk about a lot because I know it works. I've knocked on many doors that are, on the other side of the aisle, and I've worked on great legislation with people across the aisle. I think that a lot of times in politics, we look at bipartisanship as a compromise, as a bad thing, but I think Republicans need to be realistic about the state and the climate of Minnesota. We have not had a majority. We have not, every election cycle, we continue to vote the same people in. We're getting the same results. And we have to be honest about that. We need people at the Capitol who can actually have a seat at the table, who are going to get things done. Otherwise, 20 years from now, we are going to be sitting in the exact same position that we are today.
All right, that's good right there.
I got a really interesting thing here that just popped up. I got a message from Nate Wiesenberg, and it's about bipartisanship. Pull up the D1 real quick. Jesse, you don't even know this, but apparently Wiesenberg is going to get on a bill that's actually authored by a Democrat. Now, this is true bipartisanship. It's for the state fossil. It's going to make commonly known as the giant beaver is designated as the official state fossil of the state of Minnesota. Go back up to authors and status that show you that there's only one author on the bill, and it is a Democrat in the Senate. So look at that. Oh, they even have a companion bill. I didn't realize that. Who's on the companion bill? Wouldn't that be funny? Is it going to be Lee Finke on that? Let's see.
Yeah, click HF 791.
Yeah, in the middle. This is real bipartisanship. Let's see who the author is. Scroll up a little bit. I can't see. I got a camera.
It's Andrew Myers, Joe McDonald, Olson, Bjorn
Kegel
Olson,
and Clardy. So
Kegel and
this
Clardy,
is true bipartisanship right here on making the giant beaver of the Ice Age area timeline be in the official fossil of Minnesota.
Well, it's hard to get Wiesenberg off of any bill that has to do with beavers, so I can understand why he's pursuing that one. But generally, when we're talking about bipartisanship, what are we talking about? We're talking about uniparty politics. We're talking about, Zierden said there, it doesn't matter if their concerns are valid or not. Yes, it does. Are we supposed to just say that we want to accept these Democrat ideas willy-nilly? Like I said before, she needs to realize the Democrats are destroying our state, and the RINOs that are helping them are the problem. So Zierden is a potential Democrat, a secret Democrat, who endorsed radical leftist Jen Schultz for Congress in District 8 against Pete Stauber. However, that did not stop her from name-dropping Stauber in the debate as if she was a supporter. She has zero credibility. Zierden's debate answers would continually hark back to her institutional knowledge and support for bipartisanship, which shows that she is weak to Democrat arguments before even getting elected. Also participating in the debate were RINOs Kerry Heinzman and Josh Gazelka. Josh is the son of RINO Paul Gazelka. Josh spent most of his time trying to sound agreeable, but was oddly passionate about lowering the corporate taxes. That was his big idea, lowering corporate taxes. In what was potentially a Freudian slip, Gazelka said that he was running to serve, quote, his family. Which may be true, because his father seemingly lined up an endorsement for him from the gun control loving, drunk driving, Democrat endorsing MPPOA. On most other issues, Josh offered standard Republican thinking. However, at one point, Josh said that Democrats are not evil. So let's go and go back to the debate, and an hour and 8 minutes into it is when we will see Josh Gazelka saying the Democrats are not evil.
Successful.
All right, thank you. Josh Gazelka.
You know, this take won't be very popular, but the other side isn't evil. There's the statistic I love where it says 93% of people agree on what they want to get done. They just disagree on how. We all want a better economy. We all want better schools. We want better health care. We're just disagreeing on the solutions. And so when it comes to engaging with the other side, it's not calling them evil, it's calling their ideas bad. And that doesn't mean that I won't be a strong conservative. I am a strong conservative and I won't budge on issues, but too often we fixate on the fringes. We fixate on these touchdown passes, and unfortunately in our state, they're not always going to be possible, especially with Tim Walz in office. So we need to identify what are those areas of overlap. We can talk about we can fight to try to completely ban abortion, and I, as a conservative, want to do everything I can to fight for life, but you're not going to be able to have a conversation with the other side. Where you can have a conversation is identifying areas where we can fund pregnancy centers to help support moms and dads in that pivotal phase of life. Oh, no, you can't.
Oh, my God.
Right.
Do you think he's just naive in politics, or do you think he's just, like, literally, is he naive and believes that stuff, or is he just being disingenuous?
No, I think he's being disingenuous. And when he's saying that 93% of people agree, well, consider me a part of the 7% then, because I'm not on that team. I'm not on the same team as Democrats. I'm not saying the Democrats and I, we just have the same, we all want the same thing, just different ways of getting there. No, I don't think so. I think that I want something completely different from these punk Democrats who are destroying our state, that are socialists and communists.
It does matter. It's like, are you talking about like your run-of-mill Democrat activists / your neighbors that vote that way?
Right.
True then. Very true. But that's not who's forcing politics on us.
Right.
The people that are forcing politics have very evil intentions.
Right.
And it's not just the Democrat hierarchy, as you watched in the beginning of the show. It's also on the Republican side, too.
Right. And what his argument is there is, well, we can't defund Planned Parenthood, so instead, let's grow government and fund pregnancy centers. No. The right answer is less government all around. The right answer is to say that we are going to defund Planned Parenthood. It's not for us to say that we need to expand government and then work with Democrats to fund pregnancy centers. Not the role of government. And so it's clear that Josh Kozelka is just another crony politician. And he's already weak to these Democrats as well. If he wants to say that the Democrat politicians aren't evil, what is the child transgender surgery if it's not evil? And so obviously he is weak. And also, during this debate, largely absent from Carrie Heinzman's responses were acknowledgments that she is running for a seat, while her husband, Rhino Josh Heinzman, is currently in the State House of Representatives. While she used President Trump as a shield and costume, Carrie talked up many issues like school choice. Many wonder why she and her husband both want to play politics over 100 miles away from their district when they got young kids. Carrie also has the support of unhinged Walter Hudson via a retweet, and her campaign manager is shady political operative and failed deputy chair candidate Kip Christensen. This debate was also interrupted by an attendee, Troy Scheffler, who yelled that Carrie Heinzman was a liar. Troy's yelling and cursing continued, and most of the arguing can be heard in the debate audio. It's a little profane. I think that we're going to skip it for other people, but
doesn't look very good.
But
for
if
him
people
either.
want to, listen to that for themselves, it is linked into this article, so people can check that out. But some viewers told A4L that he exposed Carrie Heinzman on the mentioned court case, and others said that he was out of line and perhaps drinking beforehand.
Wait, didn't someone send me a? I thought Liberty sent something about how he admitted on social media he was drinking.
Right.
Yeah, I mean. Speaking of unhinged.
To be fair,
he definitely didn't get his point across well.
No,
to be fair, I couldn't go to one of those sober, so.
Yeah, I got a friend that goes, I'd run for Minnesota legislature if I could be, rocking a 1.5 buzz. I go, you might not be out of place up there, just so you know.
Mm-hmm. But other debate participants included Matt Zinda and Steve Katori. While Zinda brought up many good points, including HRCC corruption, Josh Heinzman door-knocking Eric Mortensen's door for Mort's opponent, and Heinzman's revenge plot against a police chief, it was perhaps overshadowed by Scheffler's interruptions and Zinda's racialized perspective, which people can go online and see all that. Sources tell A4L that he is telling people not to vote for him and that he does not want to win. Zinda has also shared a post on social media calling President Trump a pedophile, clearly showing that he is not in line with the Trump MAGA era of the GOP. And Steve Katori claims to be a lifelong Republican. However, it appears he has donated to shaky Amy Klobuchar's presidential campaign and radical leftist Jen Schultz for Congress in District 8. If Katori does deserve credit, it was for his public support for, quote, zero-based budgeting, which means the government making budgets from the bottom up and not simply continuing spending levels. Katori also made good points about not electing career politicians, but he's going to need a little magic to win. Go ahead and click that magic link. Where is it? Gonna take a little magic to win. He's a member of the Society of American Magicians.
I really feel like you're shitting on him when you do this.
I'm not. He actually...
but no, Dawson and I had a conversation about this out in Vegas. We think you're shitting on a magician, and everyone likes a magician. Jesse.
Well, I do too, except when they're a rhino and when they're donating to Democrats and then claiming that they're a Republican after the fact.
But poof, I'm a Republican.
And he did say, actually, he brought up his magic on stage. He wasn't doing any tricks or anything, but he said that he performs for sick children. So it sounds like he does some nice things with it. But unfortunately, Katoria has refused to sign our Never Again pledge, and so he seemingly will not prevent future tyranny by government in the name of things like COVID. So as the only signer of the Never Again pledge, Doug Kern has made it clear that he will stand up to the establishment and fight for liberty. The fact that there are Republicans who are afraid to stand up to radical authoritarian policies before they even get into office is a clear sign that they will cave even further once the pressure is on. Doug highlighted other issues including support for mining, deregulation, the Trump tariffs being 100% pro-life, reducing spending to pre-COVID spending levels, returning surplus money to the taxpayers, removing DEI from schools, and keeping boys out of girls' sports. Kern also mentioned the recent pointless legislative battle that was going on about giving wild rice an inherent right to life, with similar words and thinking said by Senator Nathan Wiesenberg in committee, which is basically to say, how can we have a human right, how can we have a right to life, an inherent right to life for wild rice when we don't even have that for human beings? So Action for Liberty will continue to stand with patriots and fight for limited government. Action for Liberty is building momentum thanks to the grassroots conservatives, and we will continue to be their megaphone. So, like I said, it was a pretty interesting debate, probably worthwhile for anybody that was in the district. If you were going to be voting in this special election, I would definitely suggest that you check out the entire debate and make your mind up for yourself.
Okay, very good, Jesse. Thank you so much. All right, I want to get a little bit more into the behind the scenes of what's going on with the party and some of our thoughts and what we know, but only our premium subscribers get to hear this. So if you would like to know some of the inside gossip and rumors and the shenanigans behind the scenes, become a premium subscriber. Go to truthhurtsnews.com. On the top, click on support us. $8 a month or $88 a year. You get a month off if you do a yearly subscription. We're brought to you by Warren Wessel of Keller Williams Realty. Get ready for those rumble rants. I'm calling you. Warren Wessel, give my good friend Warren a call at 612-419-7453. Brought to you by John Galt Mortgage Company. You can go to johngaltmortgage.com. Also brought to you by Alpine Cabinetry in the great city of St. Cloud, Minnesota. Thank you to all our rumble rants. Who do we have today?
We had Oban and Carol Hexum, Brad Ganser, the Libertarian Party of Minnesota, and Wheezy Mama, and finally Righty. Appreciate all you guys tuning in and for the rumble rants.
Wings, looks like Liberty's got a prediction. Paul says, I'm going out on a limb and predicting fewer than 2,000 votes in this primary, with the winner having fewer than 800. I feel like he's low on the number there just by how much coverage it's going to get. Don't you think
maybe.
So?
Maybe. I think that it is likely that it's slightly higher turnout than a typical special election just because of the circumstances that surround this and because it's a big Senate district. But, Wings is right that it's typically low turnout.
If you want more gossip for the post show, I just finished a Zoom meeting earlier and I can join you all for the bit. You got the link, Tushy. Zoom in. We're going to have Paul Tushy join us, a.k.a. Liberty Longbeard,
and, one last
a.k.a.
thing
Wings.
One last thing I remember I forgot to bring up about Angel Zierden. She had commented on Doug Kern's video when he had made a video saying that I support the Never Again pledge. I'm the only candidate that's doing this. I don't know why. And so Angel Zierden commented on there saying, well, does this group have any credibility? Does she have any credibility? She endorsed Democrats. She was donating to Democrats, and she's running in a Republican primary. Who is she to be talking about credibility?
Yeah, maybe she'll learn. She'll learn real quickly.
Yep, bipartisanship. What a joke.
I feel like it's going to be more
Uniparty.
Yeah. Well, yeah. It's not like they're all part of the, they're not like the movers and shakers. They're like, there's a lot of just, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, fence sitters, followers, right?
Mm-hmm.
The real movers and shakers, like the Tom Emmer types. Those are the people that really have bad intentions. Wheezy Mama, you doubting him? He's always on the top of the T. That's why I'm bringing it up, because if there's somebody that I would say is probably better minded on that, he's one of them. Wing said, that's why I'm going out on a limb. I miss Tushy on the show. I got to say that. Boy, is he a busy guy these days. We'll have Tushy in the post show. Join us on Zoom there, Tushy. Make sure you go to truthhurtsnews.com and click on support us. Otherwise, at the top of Rumble, just hit join us. 2 ways to become a premium subscriber. Helps us tremendously on this show. Building and advancing. We'll talk about the NAB show a little bit too. Tell you guys what we want to do with the studio. We got a lot of exciting stuff coming up. I teased this at the beginning of the year. We were waiting for the NAB show, National Association of Broadcasters. We go there every year. It's the newest, greatest thing on basically studios and broadcasting and stuff like that. We got some big plans, so we'll talk about that in the post show too. A lot to come about in the post show. So join us on Locals in 1 minute. For everyone else, we'll see you back here on Tuesday. Take care.